everyone, Novels Wonderland here. Thank you all for the love and support you've shown me and the channel.
Naruto Ninja World Scientific Revolution, Chapter 399 to 406, Chapter 399 1817 words. Thank you, sister. I'm really alive again. Upon feeling his body restored, Shigeru hugged Tsunade in excitement. Among them, Shigeru had always feared death the most. Earlier he had only remained calm because his grandfather and sister were present. In the Pure Land, he had wandered aimlessly, completely unaware of death. Besides Shigeru, Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobirama, and the others were also adjusting to their restored bodies. Big brother, can you still use wood release? I haven't tried yet, but I definitely can. Hashirama examined his fists carefully and nodded. This body is incredibly powerful. It feels like it surpasses my previous bloodline limits, maybe even stronger than I was in life like this. As he spoke, Hashirama entered Sage mode, his face taking on the characteristic markings. In the past, he had needed to form hand seals to absorb natural energy due to the massive amounts of physical and spiritual energy he possessed. Now, though his chakra had increased even more, Hashirama sensed that his control over natural energy had multiplied several times. He could enter Sage mode effortlessly, without forming seals. As for wood release, he extended his hand, and a sapling sprouted instantly from his palm. My chakra is also much stronger than before. This body surpasses even my peak days, Tobirama said with certainty. Now, whenever he refined chakra, it felt as if his reserves were limitless. This technology surpassed even Tobirama, a master of forbidden techniques. Though he had been dead for decades, he couldn't have anticipated such drastic changes in the shinobi world. Still, Tobirama looked a bit displeased at Hashirama. Big brother, what did you mean by what you just said? Have you forgotten what that brat did to us? Tobirama, for Tsunade's happiness, we can endure a little inconvenience. Actually, I've returned from the Pure Land before, once when Madara Uchiha was still around. Hashirama pulled Tobirama and Mito aside, recounting what he had observed during his previous return. He had learned quite a bit, arguably more than Tobirama and Mito, though at that time, his main concern was Tsunade's personal situation. Hyuga Mirai ignored the three elders, whose combined age exceeded 200. Instead, he approached Tsunade, curiously asking, Tsunade, why haven't I seen your parents? If Tsunade's parents knew she now spent her days drinking and gambling instead of working, they would have surely disciplined her. Hyuga Mirai was eager to witness that scene. My father. I barely remember him. Grandmother often told me that he sacrificed himself to protect Konoha. In fact, I can hardly recall his name, Tsunade replied, struggling to remember much about her father. As for Shigeru, he had no memories at all. He had been raised by grandmother Mito and others, and later by Tsunade herself. Hyuga Mirai nodded, then noticed something odd. And your mother? Tsunade shook her head. The daughter of a former daimyo of the Land of Fire. She had little affection for Konoha. After giving birth to Shigeru, she wanted to return to the Land of Fire's capital, but grandmother Mito refused. Hearing this, Hyuga Mirai recalled the captured Fire Country nobles from before. None had been from the daimyo's household, they had either been killed or imprisoned by Danzo. Tsunade showed no anger, indicating her mother had likely passed away. Tsunade looked at her resurrected relatives. Her previous decisiveness vanished as she asked, what should we do next? Why didn't you consider this when you revived them? Hyuga Mirai asked, exasperated. Shigeru should start by going to school. Old shinobi habits won't help him now. As for the first and second Hokage, we'll leave it to them to choose. Everywhere in the Federation needs people. Will anyone recognize them? Of course not. A haircut and glasses, and even you might not recognize them. Others certainly won't. The images of the first and second Hokage were fixed in people's minds. Changing hair and adding glasses made them unrecognizable. Even walking past Tsunade, they might not be acknowledged. Since the Pure Land Gate experiment succeeded, we'll begin the operation in half a month. Hyuga Mirai checked the elevated platform and set the timing for the assault on the Pure Land. Tsunade, let us help you too, Tobirama said, stepping forward. Your revival owes something to us. I'm also interested in the Pure Land. If familiar faces appear, let me handle them. Second Hokage, you don't know Sage Mode. Half a month is enough. If I still can't manage it by then, consider it unsaid, Tobirama replied. Hyuga Mirai said, the Pure Land isn't what you imagine, but come along. Sage techniques are just a basic method for dealing with spiritual bodies. He agreed to Tobirama's request, confident he could devise techniques to counter spirits within the next 15 days. Earlier, Hyuga Hinata had only tested summoning. After Hyuga Mirai arrived, she attempted teleportation. Although she succeeded, the monitoring robots didn't return information likely destroyed in an accident. Hyuga Mirai then sent 1,000 monitoring robots, retrieving over 300 after 10 minutes. Tsunade frowned. The Pure Land is really this dangerous? Even small, fast monitoring robots lost 6 or 7 out of 10 when deployed there. It's meant to feel dangerous. Otherwise, the first Hokage couldn't move freely, let alone other spirits, Hyuga Mirai explained. He prepared to leave but asked, do you want to come back with me? I'll take them back by train, Tsunade said. It would also let the elders experience the Federation's convenience. Then contact number 18 once you return. She'll arrange everything, Hyuga Mirai said before departing through the Yomibarasaka. Watching him leave, Tobirama frowned. When did he master such powerful space-time ninjutsu? Tsunade, you might not control this one. Shigeru's eyes widened. Is that my brother-in-law? I thought. Before he could finish, Tsunade punched him hard and scolded, lifting him angrily. Shigeru, don't talk nonsense. And you, second Hokage, what are you babbling about? Babbling? That's my brother, rarely clever, Hashirama cut Tobirama off before he finished. Tobirama, joking about Tsunade is too much. Tobirama glanced at his brother and understood, saying nothing further. Now Tobirama's priority was observing the shinobi world. Comparing it to his vision of Konoha, he wanted to see which was better. As for future happiness, younger generations would manage it themselves. Tsunade was already nearly his age at death. Fine, let's head back. Tsunade shot Hashirama a glance, then signaled Hyuga Hinata, preparing to head toward Roran train station with the group. Along the way, Tsunade advised Tobirama, second Hokage, if you're free after revival, help me out. I'm running non-stop and nearly exhausted. My own work is my responsibility. I taught you that from a young age. Tobirama said. That's not just my work, Tsunade countered. It's to make the shinobi world better, your dream too, isn't it? End war, protect villagers and family. Now, help me. Tobirama remained calm. You can fool Big Brother but not me. If you're overworked, use shadow clones. With your strength, maintaining them for days is no problem. Half a month later, Hyuga Mirai's team arrived near the Pure Land gate. Outside, laser cannons collected natural energy to prevent spirits from escaping. 300 upgraded mechanical puppets, and 100 Sage Mode users were ready. Many of the 100 were trained by Orochimaru, but the strongest had received organ cells from the 3 snake princesses, allowing them to absorb Sage energy freely. Hyuga Kiyo, Kurenai Yuhi, and Ayaka Uzumaki also joined. Kurenai was curious about the Pure Land, leaving Yuto with Mikoto. Kiyo, worried Kurenai might cause trouble, followed with Mie. Ayaka honestly wanted to stay with Hyuga Mirai, and he couldn't refuse. All 3 carried Hyuga Mirai's chakra. Ayaka had the most, guarding against any residual traps from the Otsutsuki. Additionally, a stray outer path statue contained chakra from 6-tailed beasts. Tobirama and Hashirama were present as well. The second Hokage's talent was no exaggeration. He learned Sage Mode within half a month despite his body's advantage. Mito Uzumaki wasn't there, unable to use natural energy, likely at Kushina's house. Hyuga Kyo observed the preparations, marveling. Unbelievable, we're about to assault the Pure Land. If he told me we could leave this planet, I wouldn't be surprised. Kurenai whispered, even 4 of us together, it's achievable. Idiot, don't say that out loud. Kyo blushed and lightly bumped Kurenai's head, checking around to ensure no one overheard. All 3 girls were complicit, even if Ayaka hadn't initiated. Hyuga Mirai and Kurenai had formed a mischievous alliance, constantly overwhelming her. Kyo decided to discipline them later. Once preparations were complete, Hyuga Mirai signaled readiness. The laser cannons glowed, ready to fire. Hyuga Hinata was ordered to use Inyang release, connecting the platform's inscriptions to the Pure Land. But she immediately sensed resistance. Lord Mirai, the other side is fighting back. It's much harder than last time. Her face turned pale. Opening the Pure Land gate now was dozens of times more difficult. Even enhanced by Orochimaru's modifications, her body struggled. Open it a bit more. I'll handle the rest, Hyuga Mirai said, placing a hand on her shoulder to stabilize the chaotic natural energy. Though there was no wind, the air vibrated. Under Hinata's effort, space above the platform began to warp. Detecting that another spatial barrier had been breached, Hyuga Mirai's forehead manifested the 9-tomo Rinnegan. Using Yomibarasaka's spatial ability combined with Obito Uchiha's Kemui, he pierced and stabilized the barrier. In the moment it stabilized, dozens of spirits emerged from the portal, shouting sharply, "Ha ha ha, we're free. We can return to the shinobi world and exact revenge." The prepared laser cannons fired relentlessly, the beams infused with natural energy. Any spirit hit couldn't heal, slowly dissipating and perishing. Some were deliberately spared to avoid friendly fire. 10 surviving spirits were bound by Ayaka Uzumaki's adamantine chains and sealed in a container. Hinata, rest for a moment. Ah, this spirit. Hyuga Mirai noticed one spared spirit looked familiar. Upon closer inspection, it resembled Hashirama and Tsunade. Weakening, it teetered on unconsciousness, likely due to long death or external control. Tsunade came over, troubled. It's my father. Please seal him for now. We'll deal with him after this mission. I understand. Don't be too sad, there may be a way to revive him. As more spirits surged, the portal seemed the center of their convergence. Many escaped lasers and number 18 began deploying mechanical puppets to capture them. That should do it. With the puppets deployed, the spirits' outward surge was suppressed, and they began a counterattack. Hyuga Mirai and the team prepared to charge into the Pure Land. End of chapter. Drop them power stones. Please support me on Patreon if you'd like access on advanced chapters. I have finished all the chapters and uploaded them there. Pat Rayon. com/turd translations, just remove the space. Chapter 400, Chapter 413 90 words. The space of the Pure Land looked like another world. The ground beneath their feet was solid, but the sky above was pitch black. Hyuga Mirai extended his hand, and a small flame slowly ignited in his palm. The fire was dim, but illuminated a radius of roughly 9 meters around him. A magical space, everything changes according to one's will. If the will is strong enough, can one gradually control the entire area. Mirai hadn't used any ninjutsu or other abilities, he had merely thought of creating fire, and it appeared in his hand the next moment. Moreover, the energy did not come from his own chakra, but from the Pure Land's ambient energy. This method of creation rivals 6 paths level Inyang release. The Otsutsuki clan evolved through chakra fruits, though they were a bit behind the ancient sages in conceptual thinking. A bit behind is an understatement, he mused. Without chakra fruits, the Otsutsuki would have struggled to access space-time techniques. Witnessing the wonders of the Pure Land, Mirai decided to dedicate some clones to training while he researched. Since planning to study life evolution, Mirai had neglected personal training for some time. Seeing the Pure Land's mysteries, he resolved to allocate part of his focus to maximize his own strength. Achieving full effect with partial effort would signify true mastery. Kyo and the others seem fine. There shouldn't be anything here threatening Tsunade. I'll go find Otsutsuki Hagoromo. With that, Mirai's body radiated powerful chakra. Using his Byakugan's long-range vision, he scanned the energy flows of the Pure Land, then proceeded in one direction. The Pure Land feels strange. Why is there ground but no moon or stars? Kurenai Yuhi stomped the ground a few times, puzzled, and asked Kiyo Hyuga. When they first entered, the force of space-time had separated them, but Kiyo quickly found her though Ayaka Uzumaki was missing. Kiyo shot Kurenai a glance and, noticing her slight excess weight, said irritably, "That's not for you to worry about. Too advanced for your level." All the nutrition had gone to her chest, so pondering such matters was unnecessary. Kiyo also couldn't help noticing the post-marriage changes. The others had increased in size while Kurenai hadn't. She suspected Mirai's earlier defection, and a strike to her chest had stunted growth. This thought only annoyed her further. She intended to question Mirai later. Kurenai, unaware of Kiyo's gaze, tilted her head. "I wonder how Ayaka and Mirai are doing." "They're fine. Ayaka carries his chakra, and she's much stronger than you. You haven't trained in over a year." Kiyo examined Kurenai's body. Though still curvy, it was no longer honed from training, essentially wasted, by her standards. Suddenly, she diverted her attention elsewhere. Someone's approaching. Kiyo's temples pulsed as she activated her Byakugan. She spotted multiple spirits gathering deliberately in the distance. 17 in total. Seems like the dispersal after entering the Pure Land was intentional. Alerted, Kurenai prepared immediately, entering Sage mode. Her Senjutsu chakra was ready to unleash large-scale genjutsu. The Pure Land's darkness meant even their flames barely lit a 30-meter radius. They stood quietly, awaiting the spirits. When the apparitions entered the firelight, Kurenai's eyes widened. Asuma Sarutobi, and the third Hokage. Surprised, Kurenai realized she had encountered familiar figures. Aside from Asuma and Hiruzen Sarutobi, the others were dressed as Konoha ninja in spirit form. They were all deceased. "How did you die? Weren't you taken to the Federation mines after losing the war?" Asuma's spirit scowled in anger. "Weren't we all executed by the Federation?" "Yuhi, don't listen to them. They're all Sarutobi clan members. I know the truth. They tried to escape the Federation mines, killed 2 supervisors and 7 guards, and were finally killed by explosives on their chains," Kiyo said coldly. She bore no fondness for the spirits, who even in death lied. "Why ruin the fun so quickly, Kiyo?" "I wanted to tease them a bit," Kurenai grumbled, then addressed Asuma and Hiruzen apologetically. "Sorry, Asuma, third Hokage. Our positions differ, so please rest peacefully." Snapping her fingers, a blaze erupted across the ground within 100 meters. This was the Kurama clan's 5-sense manipulation, optimized by Mirai into real genjutsu. The stronger one's fear, the more real the illusion becomes. However, Asuma and Hiruzen had clearly been enhanced to confront Kiyo and Kurenai. Hiruzen quickly formed hand seals, erecting a massive earth wall, isolating the fire from their positions. 8 trigrams, mountain-splitting strike. A massive shockwave struck the Sarutobi clan, but each spirit seemed hyper-aware, leaping away at the last moment. They formed seals midair, using earth release to extinguish the flames before landing. This level was elite among Jonin. Kiyo had studied them and knew that while Asuma and Hiruzen could manage, the others were weaker. Enhanced perception. "Anything else?" Kiyo sneered, unimpressed. "Impressive, Kiyo." Kurenai clapped, seemingly relaxed. Kiyo scowled. "Stop joking. Deal with them quickly and go find Ayaka. She might encounter other enemies too." Upon hearing Ayaka's name, Kurenai became serious, forming a large-scale genjutsu domain. Trees erupted from the ground, twisting and attacking the Sarutobi spirits. Would release remain the ultimate Kekkai Genkai in their minds. The illusion reflected their deepest fears. Greater fear amplified the illusion's effect. Hiruzen barely maintained composure, recalling Tsunade's would release. The others trembled before the legendary would release. The illusion spread from 100 meters to 1,000, ensnaring them in colossal wooden trees. Kyo acted immediately, targeting Hiruzen, aiming to finish them swiftly before searching for Ayaka or others. You should have marked all of them with Flying Thunder God, second Grandpa, Tsunade sighed. Her clan lacked large-scale sensory capabilities, and the Pure Land suppressed perception. She could sense only within 10 kilometers. That kid is stronger than the three of us combined. Don't worry, Tsunade. Focus on regrouping with the others, Tobirama advised, releasing his hand seals. Second Grandpa, what are you saying? Tsunade demanded, spotting multiple figures in the distance. These were not living humans, but the deceased in the Pure Land. She could clearly distinguish Ryuchi Cave's sage mode, which these spirits lacked. Enemies, Grandpa, second Grandpa, Tsunade warned, sensing one familiar among them. Tobirama calmly listed, 23 in total. Some old acquaintances, second Mizukage, second Tsuchikage, second Reikage, Kin and Jin, and one more. Recognizing familiar chakra, Tobirama recalled these individuals immediately. The remaining were also likely known. One in particular drew his attention. Brother, maybe the first four Kages are among them. Hashirama nodded. Looks like we were noticed upon entering the Pure Land. As they approached, both Tobirama and Tsunade stared in surprise and solemnity at the deceased. Izuna, I didn't expect you. Why isn't your brother, Uchiha Madara, here? Though calm, Tobirama's slightly trembling fingers betrayed his inner tension. If Izuna hadn't died, Madara might never have defected violently from Konoha. In the Uchiha clan, Izuna's status mirrored his own in the Senju. Not sure. Perhaps he didn't wish to come. I only heard of your presence from the Six Paths Sage, which brought me here. Unexpectedly, you've been revived. You seem to have a fine successor, Uchiha Izuna said. Though previously gravely injured by Tobirama's hidden jutsu, he no longer felt anger after 60 years in the Pure Land. The Uchiha have fared well. Despite trials, you are now the leading ninja clan, Tobirama smirked. The security force oversees the ninja world, and you also have a capable successor. Rest easy. Good news, yes, but hearing it from you is irritating. Izuna clicked his tongue, drawing his second sword. The Rinnegan slowly spun in his eyes. As expected, a fight is necessary to be satisfied. Do as you will. I'll deal with the others first. Tobirama threw Flying Thunder God Kunai, then used Shadow Clone Jutsu to transport 5 individuals away. Ignoring Izuna, he observed him and then proceeded. Tsunade's gaze fell on a white-haired middle-aged man with 2 toads on his shoulders. Jiraiya, long time no see. Unexpectedly encountering him in the Pure Land intensified her resentment toward the Six Paths Sage. If not deliberate, it was suspicious. End of chapter. Drop them Power Stones. Please support me on Patreon if you'd like access on advanced chapters. I have finished all the chapters and uploaded them there. Pat Rayon. com/turd translations, just remove the space. Chapter 401. Chapter 401 1889 words. Really, Jiraiya, you aren't here to fight me, are you? Tsunade scratched her golden hair, feeling a little awkward, then said, I still have unfinished business. If you want to reminisce, wait until I've dealt with the matters in the Pure Land. Hearing this, Jiraiya's expression darkened. After a moment, he shook his head and said, Tsunade, I won't let you do this. Although I was killed by Hyuga Mirai, I hold no personal grudge against him. Still, I've always believed he could bring danger to the ninja world, concentrating power in a single individual. Enough, Jiraiya. It seems you're here to stop me. You might be unaware of what's happened in the ninja world, so I'll tell you, the war is over. For the next few hundred years, there can be no more wars. The ninja world is at peace. Tsunade spoke solemnly. This wasn't just Hyuga Mirai's ambition, it was also her dream, and the collective dream of others in the ninja world. Though she often delegated matters to Kabuto, Kakashi, and Shizune, she was far from ignorant. The unification of the Land of Fire into the Federation was her initiative. Hyuga Mirai only voiced the intent. Almost all the details were approved by her, though she had been forced to work tirelessly under Kabuto's pressure. Tsunade believed the civilians of the Land of Fire now lived better lives than before, with taxes reduced by 90%, no oppression, and no threat of war. Even if she had become Hokage in the past, she couldn't have promised such a life for the people. Now she had delivered it. Jiraiya, times have changed. The things you worry about won't happen. If I had known you'd infiltrate the Suna Federation so aggressively, I would have stopped you, no matter what. After a pause, Jiraiya asked suddenly, Tsunade, did you side with Hyuga Mirai early on? Yes, fairly early, not long after the Ninetales incident. Tsunade glanced at Jiraiya and replied, I initially wanted to gather intelligence on him, but he persuaded me. Now I think maybe I already wanted to follow him, which is why I joined his side. Back then, Konoha suffered heavy losses because of Hyuga Mirai, and you were severely injured in his attack. Jiraiya asked, unconvinced. If he wasn't mistaken, Tsunade's feelings for him weren't just ideological, they were mixed with something else. From this perspective, he had lost completely, as had Konoha. Tsunade, showing impatience, said, Jiraiya, I know the Ninetales incident better than you. Even Kushina joined Hyuga Mirai. What else is there to say? The outcome is clear, the Federation is unified, peace has arrived, the ninja system has lost. Tsunade, didn't you feel guilty for betraying the village? You are one of Konoha's Sannin. With your ability, if you had stayed to help Konoha, it would be even stronger today. Before Tsunade could respond, a young Konoha ninja by Jiraiya's side spoke, making her forehead veins bulge in anger. Jiraiya, who is this brat accusing me? Can anyone just scold me now? Her temper flared, her fists clenching as if she might strike. Before Jiraiya could introduce him, the young ninja said, I am Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi. Tsunade immediately recalled Uchiha Mikoto, her expression softening into pity as she looked at Itachi. Uchiha Azuna didn't kill you. Looks like, whether in the ninja world or the Pure Land, you've been ostracized by other Uchiha. Poor thing. Itachi replied calmly, not at all. A ninja must bear everything, walking silently in the dark. Anyone who harms the village family or clan cannot be forgiven. You, as one of Konoha's Sannin, haven't borne your responsibility. This sounds familiar, what a pitiful creature. Tsunade suddenly remembered Hyuga Mirai had said something similar, once criticizing her grandfather. Looking back, such a mindset was indeed flawed. She then glanced at Senja Hashirama and asked, Grandfather, are you familiar with this saying? A little, ha. Hashirama scratched his head. The circumstances then were entirely different from now. His ideas sometimes conflicted with Hyuga Mirai's, but Konoha had become history. The Federation might last 1,000 years. He felt a little embarrassed, though the village had just been founded and faced threats from Madara, and the Ninetales he couldn't be blamed entirely. Enough, Jiraiya. I probably can't reason with you. In the end, fists will have to speak. I wonder how much your power has increased in the Pure Land. Tsunade deliberately evolved her Sharingan from the standard Tomo to the Mangekyo, then to the Rinnegan. With the addition of the truth-seeking balls behind her, she exerted tremendous pressure on Jiraiya and his dozen companions. Fukasaku on Jiraiya's shoulder said, This is tricky, little Jiraiya. If I'm not mistaken, the black sphere behind her is like the one behind the Six Paths Sage. Those eyes too, the Rinnegan, just like the Six Paths Sage, added Shima. She hadn't died on Mount Mayaboku, but was killed shortly after emerging by a sudden laser from the sky. Everyone, spread out. Find opportunities and support each other. Jiraiya shouted and immediately entered Sage mode. Those who followed him were convinced by the Six Paths Sage. The first four Kage, the third of each village, fourth Wind and Lightning Kage, the Jinchuriki, Uchiha Shui, and Itachi all could almost fully utilize their abilities in the Pure Land. The Six Paths Sage had granted them partial permissions, enhancing their powers. Even in death, unless completely devoid of attachment like Madara, facing the Six Paths persuasion stirred them somewhat. They were being courted by the founder of the ninja way. I want to use my grandfather's would release, but it seems Susanoo will be more practical. Tsunade, exuding heroism, unleashed blood-red chakra, forming bones, muscles, armor, and finally a complete Susanoo over 500 meters tall. This wasn't her full effort. At full power, she could match a Susanoo as big as Thousand Hands, but against Jiraiya and company, such scale wasn't necessary. Also, the lack of light in the Pure Land made watching their movements difficult from height. So strong. Itachi felt overwhelmed. He could use Susanoo, but his ocular limitations allowed only a few dozen meters. Tsunade's towering Susanoo reached his ankles. Watch out! Jiraiya shouted. The group nearby scattered at top speed. The ground shook. Even Hashirama struggled to stay standing. Tsunade's strike carved hundreds of meters deep. The third wind and water Kage, unable to dodge, were shattered by the Susanoo blade. Their spirits became scattered starlight, drifting through the space. Observing this, Tsunade whispered, Hyuga Mirai was right. The spirits of the dead supplement the Pure Land. That makes things easier. Grandfather, I don't need help here. Go check on second grandfather. Another Susanoo blade intercepted the first Kage trying to stop Hashirama. The chasm, several kilometers wide, shocked those attempting to attack Tsunade. Being dead now, if they fell again, they'd truly vanish. Elsewhere in the Pure Land, battles raged. Fortunately, the mech puppets remained intact, splitting into fire squads only upon entry. This is disaster in the Pure Land. Otsutsuki Hagoromo sighed. For the first time, he regretted his stubbornness. He should have intervened when Gamamara's prophecy changed, avoiding this outcome. Someone stronger than his mother appeared. She merely sought chakra, this person sought the entire ninja world. As Hagoromo surveyed the battles, a truth-seeking spear shot toward him at lightning speed. He summoned a protective sphere to block it. The clash produced a violent shockwave, fluttering his clothing. Hyuga Mirai appeared before Hagoromo, one hand stabilizing the spear, the other radiating golden light, sharp enough to slice anything. Hagoromo instantly formed Susanoo, followed by defensive truth-seeking ball transformations. Golden Blast. Hyuga Mirai pushed forward, the golden light became countless blades, piercing Hagoromo's Susanoo in an instant, the force flinging him kilometers away. Only when the impact subsided did Mirai regain composure. Soul Strike. Is this a Mangekyo ability or something learned in the Pure Land? He shook his head. His soul's resilience saved him, others might have been shattered. Spiritual Clone Technique. Mirai split a spirit body within himself for defense. He didn't waste words. As enemies, their conflict ended only with one side's annihilation. Combine taijutsu with Rinnegan techniques, and Grey Bone Massacre. Preparing tactics, Mirai covered himself with 3 truth-seeking balls for light defense, one in his left hand glowing gold, ready to form blades. His other hand could grow Grey Bone Massacre at fingertips, palms, or elsewhere. Other techniques were less effective, these two were the most lethal. Mirai vanished, generating a massive sonic boom in the Pure Land, reappearing before Hagoromo. He sensed Hagoromo's keen perception and strong chakra, leaving no room for restraint. Mirai's overflowing sage chakra alone made creatures tens of kilometers tremble. A master of taijutsu, before becoming a Six Paths, Mirai had never neglected gravity training. Every strike troubled Hagoromo. Even with Pure Land enhanced perception, Hagoromo's slower reflexes put him at a disadvantage. Especially when Mirai's golden sphere and emerging gray bones forced Hagoromo to split his attention. At this evolutionary level, conventional methods rarely kill. Hagoromo and his brother once joined forces to seal Kaguya, requiring prolonged combat with sage techniques barely effective. Against Mirai, even sage techniques were insufficient, Hagoromo's speed allowed constant counterattacks. Unless he wielded Tsunade-level ocular power instantly activating techniques wherever he looked, faster than Itachi's Amaterasu escape was impossible. Their clash shook tens of kilometers of the Pure Land. Despite absorbing its energy, Hagoromo struggled, falling behind. From occasional resistance, he gradually felt the pressure, as if facing a mother stress mounting relentlessly. The battle raged an entire day. Though time was irrelevant in the Pure Land, Mirai felt the toll on his chakra. Even with backup tailed beast chakra, prolonged consumption was unsustainable. Time's about up. Mirai resolved, unleashing his chakra. A spirit body shot into Hagoromo, briefly stunning him, replicating Mirai's initial encounter. Golden Blast. Grey Bone Massacre. As the spirit entered Hagoromo, Mirai used both techniques. The Golden Reincarnation Blast cleaved Hagoromo in two, Grey Bone Massacre pierced him, instantly corroding and decaying his body. Hagoromo groaned, swinging his truth-seeking balls in retaliation. Before healing, Mirai kicked him, splitting him kilometers apart. Mirai then used Shadow Clone Jutsu, attacking from both sides. By now, victory was clear, Hagoromo's defeat was sealed. So this is the key to controlling the Pure Land. Mirai held a grayish translucent crystal fallen from Hagoromo. With it, he could sense events throughout the Pure Land and even observe the ninja world. The Pure Land was the planet's reverse side. If I ingest it, I'd fully master the Pure Land, but that's not for me. Mirai considered that consuming it would bind him to the Pure Land, whereas he planned to explore the universe, unwilling to be tethered to one planet. Yet even holding the gray crystal allowed him to wield most of the Pure Land's power. Most wars are over 30 casualties. That damn Otsutsuki Hagoromo. Mirai sensed everyone was safe. Kyo, Ayaka, and Kurenai, though Tsunade was still fighting. After a whole day. Is she playing around? End of chapter. Drop them power stones. Please support me on Patreon if you'd like access on advanced chapters. I have finished all the chapters and uploaded them there. Pat Rayon. com/turd translations, just remove the space. Chapter 402, Chapter 402. 1852 words, looks like you guys. Hyuga Mirai had just appeared beside Kyo Hyuga, and the others using his space-time ninjutsu, when he was struck hard by a palm. The blow wasn't enough to seriously harm him, but it still stung. So it's you. Next time, give me a heads up. In unfamiliar places, misunderstandings happen easily. Kyo Hyuga said with a smile at the corner of her mouth. She had just endured an attack from Kurenai Yuhi's useless fat, and happened to see Hyuga Mirai emerge from the space corridor, so she vented her frustration on him. But Hyuga Mirai wasn't exactly defenseless. After Kyo struck him, a trace of blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, his face pale, and he weakly said, "It's fine, a minor injury. Be careful, though I've already defeated the Sage of the Six Paths, there are still many powerful beings in the Pure Land. How can it be this serious?" Seeing his expression, Kyo panicked and stepped forward, intending to heal him with medical ninjutsu. But when she examined his condition, she was shocked. His chakra was depleted, his meridians were chaotic, his internal organs severely damaged, and his body weakened constantly. "Quick, go back for treatment. If enemies appear, I'll cover the rear." Kyo Hyuga scolded herself. She had acted too impulsively, attacking Hyuga Mirai without knowing the situation, worsening his injuries. There's still a lot to handle. I'll escort you back first. Hyuga Mirai said weakly, and this immediately frustrated Kyo. He had suffered such serious injuries yet still cared about other matters. Stop saying useless things. Go back immediately. You're weaker than me right now, if you stay, I'll stay too. Hyuga Mirai hesitated, then said weakly, "Then, Kyo, promise me one thing, and I'll..." "Anything. Promise me." Hyuga Mirai instantly recovered upon hearing her answer. "Kyo, your words are the strongest medical ninjutsu. I'm fully healed, let's go back." Kyo Hyuga realized at once that Hyuga Mirai had tricked her. Her palm strike and concern had allowed him to deceive her. Looking back, Yuhi and Ayaka hadn't reacted, they had been watching her the whole time. As for the promise, Kyo already guessed what it was. Even if she regretted it, Hyuga Mirai had plenty of ways to ensure her compliance. I'll send you back first. The Pure Land still needs some cleaning up. No need to say it. Kyo Hyuga said, blushing, turning her head, her tone firm. It's just one thing, I won't go back on my word. She had been caught off guard this time, but next time, she would be far more cautious. Satisfied with her answer, Hyuga Mirai patted her long hair, and used a gray crystal to send the three of them out of the Pure Land. Nearby, spirit bodies were rushing in. If he hadn't dealt with the Sage of the Six Paths early, they would have faced endless combat. Through the gray crystal's power, Hyuga Mirai saw many spirits converging on the living in the Pure Land, though a few powerful ones, like Uchiha Madara, remained inactive. The first to face large-scale spirit attacks were Hyuga Mirai's mechanized puppets, and the 100 Jonin capable of Sage mode. After these spirits' assaults caused significant damage, Hyuga Mirai's next step, after sending Kyo and the others away, was to send these allies out as well. First, block the spirits' perception. Once the spirits lost their ability to sense, they could no longer endlessly locate the living in the Pure Land to attack. Hyuga Mirai felt the gray crystal contained many abilities, likely one of the masterpieces of ancient Onmyoji who created the Pure Land. Here, it allowed near-total suppression of spirits. If possible, he wanted to study this technique, then improve Obito Uchiha's Kemie space into a portable crystal, optimized as a ring or earring for easier control and potential mass production. But now wasn't the time. First, he needed to eliminate all the unruly spirits in the Pure Land. This was a remarkable place. From the planet-covering backside space to the way spirits were absorbed, it was all worthy of study. Mastery here would make him practically the ruler of a hellish domain. Next, Hyuga Mirai used Yomi Barasaka to teleport the Sage Mode Jonin out, then stored the mechanized puppets. By rough calculation, from when he opened the Pure Land gate, he had eliminated over 100,000 spirit bodies, more than all the deaths in past shinobi wars combined. Finally, Hyuga Mirai arrived at Tsunade's battlefield, where he saw her controlling a massive Susanoo, smashing the ground like a whack-a-mole game, leaving several kilometers of terrain completely destroyed. Hyuga Mirai immediately activated the gray crystal's power, immobilizing the first Reikage and first Tsuchikage. The next instant, the Susanoo's blade shattered them into pieces. Their spirits turned into starlight, merging into the Pure Land space. What are you doing here? Done over there. Was that your doing? Tsunade deactivated the Susanoo, noticing the sudden immobility of the others and losing interest in playing. After dealing with the Sage of the Six Paths, he left this here. Holding it produces an effect, but to fully utilize it, swallowing might be necessary. Binding spirits is minor, other areas even bind stronger spirits with powerful seals. Hyuga Mirai handed over the gray crystal. Tsunade inspected it, played with it briefly, then returned it, asking, indeed. But what will you do with these guys? Let them go. Let them go. Are you joking? These are people who actively oppose us. Eliminating them generates energy to reinforce the Pure Land. If we let them go, their hatred won't dissipate. What's the point? Hyuga Mirai looked at Tsunade like she was an idiot, then nodded toward her. The hatred in their eyes won't turn into gratitude. Especially Uchiha Itachi and Jiraiya. Though bound and immobile, their gazes were hostile. Their deaths were directly linked to him, and they blamed him entirely for Konoha's fate, never considering the lives of civilians. You're right. Though she agreed, Tsunade wanted to plead. Jiraiya, though foolish, had been her teammate for over a decade. If he died in the Pure Land, it would be final. As she hesitated, Hyuga Mirai snapped his fingers. Instantly, the first Kage and past Jinchuriki turned into starlight, returning as energy to the Pure Land. Next, it was Uchiha Shursui and Uchiha Itachi. Killing these two gave him no particular feeling. By the time Tsunade realized, only Jiraiya remained uneliminated. Before Hyuga Mirai snapped again, she hurried to stop him. "All right, I got it. I'll work properly when I return, as you instructed." Tsunade's intervention made her realize he had deliberately waited for her, rather than eliminating Jiraiya immediately. He seized every opportunity to neutralize threats. "Tsunade, don't plead. Fukasaku already sees life and death clearly." Jiraiya's words were cut off. Hyuga Mirai blocked his voice entirely. No matter how much Jiraiya tried to speak, no sound emerged, only a hostile glare. This guy is really annoying. Hyuga Mirai thought sparing Jiraiya was too generous. He whispered a request to Tsunade, who blushed furiously and clenched her fists. "Are you deliberately trying to embarrass me?" Hyuga Mirai only shook his head, pretending ignorance. "So this is a decade of teammate friendship. I understand better to eliminate than to survive in the Pure Land." "I get it." Tsunade interrupted, exhaling deeply, trembling as she hugged Hyuga Mirai's waist tightly. Jiraiya, shielded from sound, only saw Hyuga Mirai whispering to Tsunade, followed by her embarrassed hug. Too much pain. Even in death, Jiraiya hadn't felt this. He refused to accept this sight. It was a genjutsu. Hyuga Mirai was attacking his mind with illusion. "Tsunade, reflect properly in the Pure Land. Don't continue making mistakes, there might still be." Before she could finish, Hyuga Mirai used the gray crystal to send Jiraiya away, to a place in the Pure Land filled with toad spirits, suitable for him. If he had continued listening, he might have immediately killed himself. Tsunade turned away, didn't know. Feeling a mix of shame and anger at her teammate's life being threatened, she sat silently for a long moment. "He seems furious. Should I send him away?" Though Jiraiya had already been sent off, Hyuga Mirai could still trick Tsunade. "Send him now." Blushing like she had a fever, Tsunade closed her eyes, trembling as she urged him. "All right. I'll study how to use this gray crystal properly," Hyuga Mirai said seriously, feigning research. A few minutes later, sensing Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama finishing and heading their way, he said to Tsunade, "They've been sent." Tsunade. Hearing this, she released her embrace, stepped back, face flushed, looking away. Once she let go, the tight pressure on Hyuga Mirai's chest dissipated. "Nothing we just did is to be told to anyone." "Ah, that depends on your future behavior. You'll follow a 9 to 5 schedule, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't want anyone seeing this video." Hyuga Mirai tapped his watch, a screen appearing to replay Tsunade hugging him. Jiraiya, hearing nothing, could only see her blushing face before she pulled him close. "You're threatening me with this?" Tsunade exclaimed in disbelief. Jiraiya had already been sent away. She had been tricked into hugging him for so long. She was ready to use her ultimate move today, furious, rolling up her sleeves, but sensing her grandfather and great-grandfather approaching, she realized Hyuga Mirai had calculated this. Blushing with anger, she glared at him. I know. Don't show this to anyone else." "Of course. If you behave, only 2 people will know about this video." Hyuga Mirai smiled, adding, "Remember to clock in on time." "I'll check your work records." Tsunade fumed, about to raise her fist, but Senju Tobarama and Senju Hashirama arrived the next second. "Looks like you handled things too, Little Tsunade, why is your face so red?" Tobarama asked midway, noticing her condition. "Did she get hurt dealing with so many powerful foes?" "Nothing, just overused my dojutsu," she said, heart racing. Luckily, she had destroyed several kilometers of terrain like a whack-a-mole game, avoiding suspicion. "Is that so? Rest well when you return." Tobarama and Hashirama then looked at Hyuga Mirai, awaiting his instructions. Hyuga Mirai spoke, "The Pure Land is under my control. Some areas still need clearing, but I'll handle that later. First, I'll send you out. A few powerful spirits remain sealed including one free-moving consciousness, the Shinigami sealed by the Uzumaki clan's traditional corpse seal. Through the gray crystal, Hyuga Mirai could see Namake's Minato inside the Shinigami. He also discovered that the energy accumulated in the Pure Land could be released back to the shinobi world, naturally enhancing chakra there. However, doing so would leave less energy to sustain the spirits. End of chapter. Drop them Power Stones. Please support me on Patreon if you'd like access on advanced chapters. I have finished all the chapters and uploaded them there. Pat Rayon. com/turd translations, just remove the space. Chapter 403, Chapter 403 2884 words. Shameless TL here, just a quick plug on a new book titled HP, Reborn as Gilderoy Lockhart. You might want to check it out. I promise it's good. It's over. After Hyuga Mirai, Tsunade, Senju Hashirama, and Senju Tobarama came out, he announced the end of the incident. Overall, Hyuga Mirai had been more devious. He hid part of his strength so that Otsutsuki Hagoromo did not notice, and in the end eliminated him in one decisive move. Otherwise, that guy might very well have released ancient deities that had been sealed for a long time to deal with him. Hyuga Mirai had no idea what abilities those gods possessed, or how strong they were. In short, it was a close call but without real danger, and the Pure Land space was now under Hyuga Mirai's control. What are your plans next? Tsunade has already agreed to take over the reform of the medical system. The Federation has only one goal, to allow all Federation civilians to treat any illness at a very low cost. What about the two of you? Hyuga Mirai smiled at the Senju brothers as he spoke. He described Tsunade's actions as very noble, and if it were accomplished, that would indeed be the case. Once the medical reform succeeded, Federation newspapers would praise Tsunade continuously for a month, letting everyone know of her achievements. However, these words made Tsunade, standing to the side, widen her eyes. When the others were not paying attention, she glared fiercely at Hyuga Mirai. As if she had volunteered. It was clearly this bastard who had tricked and threatened her, even recording a video. Only then did she have no choice but to agree. Where do you think we should go? In terms of familiarity with the Federation, no one should know it better than you, so I'd like to hear your opinion. Senju Tobarama said calmly. He still felt somewhat displeased with Hyuga Mirai. Anyone who had been used like a slave for several years would react this way. If not for Senju Hashirama's persuasion and Tsunade's happiness, he would not have let it go so easily. Besides, he was not someone who could stay idle. After being revived, his energy was at its peak. If he did nothing, Senju Tobarama would eventually feel stifled. Other than the leader, governors are the highest authority in the Federation. The land of Earth, which has just been merged, has been divided into two states due to its backward economy and small population. After you become familiar with Federation administration, go there. After thinking for a moment, Hyuga Mirai made this suggestion to Senju Tobarama. This man was extremely capable. Only by placing him in a place like the land of Earth could his abilities be fully utilized. If he were placed in the land of fire, the effect would be far too small. Alright, let's go with that. I'll change my name for now and get familiar with the Federation's way of doing things. Senju Tobarama was quite satisfied. The position was already very high, and the chosen location suited him well, with plenty of room to act. As for the distance, it was no problem for him. With his current chakra reserves, he could return every day to rest. Then Hyuga Mirai turned his head and asked the First Hokage, what do you plan to? My abilities can't compare to Tobarama's at all, and there's no rebellion in the shinobi world. Senju Hashirama scratched his head. In truth, he wanted to say that he wished to travel around the shinobi world for a while, but whether it was Hyuga Mirai, Tsunade, or Tobarama, none of them seemed inclined to let him off. After thinking for a moment, Senju Hashirama asked uncertainly, what do you think I should do? What could he do? Hyuga Mirai honestly couldn't think of anything right away. In handling affairs, he was indeed inferior to Senju Tobarama. When the first Hokage had been Hokage, most matters had been handled by Tobirama. The Ministry of Agriculture. Hear me out first. It has nothing to do with farming. This department concerns the entire Federation's food production. The responsibility is quite heavy, arguably even more so than the medical department. Hyuga Mirai had just reached this point when Senju Tobirama and Tsunade had already made the decision. Senju Tobirama said decisively, "The Ministry of Agriculture, then." "Big brother, stop thinking about taking it easy. This time I won't help you handle things anymore." "That's right, Grandpa. The Ministry of Agriculture concerns the entire Federation's food supply. If something goes wrong, tens of thousands of people could starve." Tsunade even frightened her grandfather from the side. She still remembered asking her grandfather for help back then, only for him to suddenly lift Edo Tensei and return to the Pure Land. This time, there would be no leaving. Even if he did leave, she could have Hyuga Mirai pull him back again. "Don't worry, First Hokage," Hyuga Mirai comforted Senju Hashirama and said, "At the beginning, you won't be given such a heavy burden. And if there's anything you don't understand, just ask Tsunade. She's quite familiar with many administrative matters, just a bit lazy." When the Land of Fire joined the Federation and completed its overall reform, it had been Tsunade who made it happen. But not long after it was completed, Tsunade directly quit and ran off. Although she was later tricked by Hyuga Mirai into the medical department, she still didn't put in much effort. If Hyuga Mirai hadn't seized an opportunity in the Pure Land this time, he would have had quite a headache. After all, the abilities of Noara Rin, Shizun, and Kimura were still far behind Tsunade's. "All right, I'll listen to you." Senju Hashirama sighed. He was being forced into the position, and given the importance of the Ministry of Agriculture, there would be no chance to slack off in the future. After settling the matters of the Senju brothers, Hyuga Mirai used Yamatsu Hirasaka to send everyone here back. He then sealed the gate of the Pure Land. Now that he had the gray crystal, Hyuga Mirai could enter the Pure Land space anytime, anywhere. He also reminded Hinata to come see him in a few days. Hyuga Hinata was the most suitable person to manage the Pure Land space. After he thoroughly researched the formation and energy of the Pure Land space, he would hand the gray crystal over to Hyuga Hinata. Of course, he would first completely eliminate the threatening gods inside. The threats to the shinobi world had basically all been resolved. Next, as long as the Federation officials focused on construction and development, Hyuga Mirai could enjoy a period of very relaxed and comfortable life. Every day would be spent either on research experiments or accompanying his family.
He now had a lifespan of over 1,000 years. Even if he spent 100 years on experiments and family, it would be enough for Hyuga Mirai to complete another evolution of his life level. The matter of the Gate of the Pure Land did not affect any civilians, because it was quickly resolved by Hyuga Mirai. Not a single spirit managed to escape. That's the situation. Hinata, are you willing to take over the Pure Land space?
Hyuga Mirai called Hyuga Hinata to his home and asked her. The Pure Land space was constructed using ancient Inyang techniques, and among them, only Hinata was most familiar with the study of Inyang techniques. Although Hyuga Mirai had collected all Inyang techniques, he did not have time to look through them yet. What he had most in hand right now was still the improvement and cultivation of the God Tree. After a brief moment of thought, Hyuga Hinata agreed immediately. "I'm willing. Thank you, Mirai-sama. I'm also very curious about the structure and operation of the Pure Land space. In that case, after I do some research, I'll give it to you. Or you can enter together with me then. I remember that Inyang techniques include methods to summon Shikigami." After hearing Hyuga Mirai's words, Hyuga Hinata nodded and said, "That's true. Then I'll be in your care, Mirai-sama. No need to be so polite. After all, your abilities are also very useful to me." Just as Hyuga Mirai finished speaking, he was knocked on the head by Kiyo Hyuga, who had come over carrying tea. She then scolded him, "Why didn't you speak as fellow clan members?" After scolding Hyuga Mirai, Kiyo Hyuga turned to Hyuga Hinata and asked with slightly furrowed brows, "Hinata, don't you plan to go back and take a look? Speaking of it, the past matters shouldn't have implicated you at all, and Hanabi, she." "Forget it, Kiyo. Let Hinata decide for herself," Hyuga Mirai advised from the side. He had never liked to interfere in family matters. Moreover, Hyuga Hinata's situation was very complex. Natural energy could influence emotions. Although it didn't show on the surface, Hyuga Mirai could still sense that she carried very strong auras of both Snake Sage mode and Toad Sage mode. After hearing Hyuga Mirai's words, Kiyo Hyuga said no more. In certain matters, as long as Hyuga Mirai had made a decision, she would still prioritize his opinion. After Hyuga Hinata left, the Pure Land incident was considered completely concluded. However, seeing Kiyo Hyuga still tidying up by herself, Hyuga Mirai couldn't help but think that he needed to quickly find a suitable housekeeper. That day, Hyuga Mirai rarely stayed out of the laboratory, and instead spent some time at home with the children. However, Mio had far too much energy. After waking Yuto up twice from the noise, Mio finally pouted and felt a trace of sleepiness, and was eventually coaxed to sleep by Hyuga Mirai. At night, there were monitoring machine assistants. If any special accident occurred, Hyuga Mirai and Kiyo, and the others would receive an alert. So sometimes they felt at ease letting Mio and Yuto sleep on their own. Phew, soothing two kids is really tiring. Tomorrow I'll go find a suitable housekeeper. Hyuga Mirai stretched lazily. Hearing this, Kiyo Hyuga, who was sitting on the sofa watching TV, said irritably, "It's been less than 2 hours. You're being far too casual as a father. The total time you've held the children isn't even 3 days." "Of course. All the time is spent holding the children's mother, so Mio and Yuto will just have to suffer a bit," Hyuga Mirai said seriously as he sat down beside Kiyo Hyuga, quietly reaching his hand over. "Don't fool around, I'm watching a drama." Kiyo Hyuga noticed the hand at her waist. Her face flushed slightly as she reached out and slapped it away. Remembering what she had promised in the Pure Land, she immediately used the TV drama as an excuse. "This one. There's a replay tomorrow morning. If that doesn't work, I can have the TV station send you the recording." After glancing at the TV, Hyuga Mirai said this to Kiyo Hyuga. Her excuse was far too flimsy. They were the most powerful family in the Federation. Even writing a script and having someone film it would be easy. That still won't do. Kiyo Hyuga said with a red face, seriously making excuses. Only a drama you follow is better. Tomorrow morning I might even discuss it with Mikoto and the others. Why you, what are you doing? Miss Kiyo who's making excuses is really cute. Idiot, put me down. Kiyo Hyuga was suddenly lifted up. She let out an inadvertent soft cry, followed by weak resistance. Your head is full of filthy thoughts, idiot, Hyuga Mirai. Although her scolding continued, Kiyo Hyuga's long, slender legs obediently rested on Hyuga Mirai's arms. After being carried into the room by him, her voice abruptly stopped. The next morning, Hyuga Mirai woke up refreshed and went out to buy breakfast. He also took the initiative to feed the children. It wasn't until noon that he was kicked out of the house by Kiyo Hyuga, after which he went to the laboratory. Senju Tobarama and Senju Hashirama both concealed the Senju surname, changed their appearance, and joined the Federation. Now, aside from Hyuga Mirai's family, the only one in the entire Federation who knew these people had been revived was Kushina Uzumaki. After all, Kushina had also been very close to Uzumaki Mito. When Uzumaki Mito learned of what Danzo had done to Kushina, she was furious. After returning, she found an opportunity to scold Senju Tobarama harshly. Senju Tobarama could only endure it silently. He could sternly reprimand his elder brother, but toward sister-in-law Mito, he was extremely respectful. Even when scolded by her, he could only curse Danzo silently in his heart. At one time, 3 god tree fruits will mature. However, even a sage body can't fully withstand the improved god tree fruit. 3 people sharing one fruit would be about right. After seeing the data analysis of the improved God Tree, Hyuga Mirai thought silently. God Tree fruits that directly absorbed stellar energy were far more violent than those that absorbed natural energy, and the risk of consumption was also much greater. Back then, Kaguya nearly lost control of the energy in her body after consuming the chakra fruit. In the end, she created 2 children from the excess chakra before things settled. The new God Tree fruit improved by Hyuga Mirai was far more powerful than the chakra fruit Kaguya had consumed back then, and the effects and dangers after consumption were also significant. Whether in terms of life level or chakra, Hyuga Mirai was the strongest in the shinobi world. If it was still dangerous for him to consume it, others wouldn't even need to consider it. For safety's sake, Hyuga Mirai chose to consume the God Tree fruit within the origin ball space. A few seconds after the fruit entered his stomach, Hyuga Mirai felt an incomparably vast energy explode within his body. Even though he had prepared in advance, he immediately transformed into the complete Otsutsuki form. Even the 9 tomo in the rinnegan on his forehead began spinning rapidly. The energy of the God Tree fruit was quickly absorbed into Hyuga Mirai's body, altering every muscle, organ, blood vessel, bone, and cell. Without him noticing, the 2 horns on his head slowly retracted, and the Magatama sage robe on his body gradually disappeared. The Magatama patterns transformed into flame-like markings that seemed to represent the blazing sun. To digest this God Tree fruit, Hyuga Mirai stayed in the origin ball space for a full 3 days. On the 4th day, Hyuga Mirai finally opened his eyes. They were still the deep blue of the Tensigen, but they seemed to flash with a hint of golden light. Too amazing, too powerful. Hyuga Mirai looked at his fist, then threw a punch forward. Instantly, a violent wind like a natural disaster erupted ahead, and the ground of the origin ball space was blasted into a pit 4 to 5 kilometers wide by that single punch. This was purely his physical strength, without using any chakra. My life level also seems to be slowly increasing. There's no need to deliberately get used to the strength, but how much it has increased will require specific research. It's just a pity that the seedling separated from the mother tree can only bear 3 fruits at most. When Hyuga Mirai obtained the God Tree fruit, the God Tree had already withered. He would have to wait until new seedlings were cloned before continuing cultivation. Tsunade, I brought you some good news. Regarding Otsutsuki Ishiki's matter, have you? Before Hyuga Mirai could finish speaking, Tsunade grabbed him by the neck, and he was met with a face full of resentment. Have you finally agreed to my resignation? That's not it. Impossible. Don't even think about it. If you dare to sneak away, you should know what the consequences will be, right? As soon as Hyuga Mirai heard Tsunade mention quitting, he immediately changed his expression and threatened her, pulling up the video from back then and repeatedly playing it in front of her. Then there's no good news. Let's die together, you bastard. After seeing that Pure Land video again, Tsunade was instantly filled with shame and anger. She forcefully shoved Hyuga Mirai backward. Hyuga Mirai hadn't expected Tsunade to use such force. Moreover, after leaving the origin ball space, he had restrained his powerful life traits. Otherwise, the first ones to feel discomfort would have been those around him. Now, the life signal he unintentionally leaked carried both a powerful attraction and a powerful pressure for anyone below the 6 paths level. Tsunade directly pushed Hyuga Mirai to the ground and pressed herself on top of him. Although this was an extremely low probability accident, Tsunade ended up tightly pressed against Hyuga Mirai once again. End of chapter. Drop them power stones. Please support me on Patreon if you'd like access on advanced chapters. I have finished all the chapters and uploaded them there. Pat Rayon. com/turd translations, just remove the space. Chapter 404, Chapter 404 space. 3075 words, go in there and reflect properly. After locking Hyuga Mio into the confinement room, Kiyo Hyuga closed the door and left. Hyuga Mio had been confined again for fighting outside, so she was locked in the room for reflection. During this time she was not allowed to go out, had to complete her daily schoolwork, and aside from designated paper books, there were no electronic devices in the room. That damn mom. It was clearly their fault, and Yudo hit someone too. Why am I the only one being locked up? Hyuga Mio's small face twisted with anger. She kicked the door a few times to vent, but it was useless. The room's soundproofing was so good that even detonating 10 kilograms of explosives inside wouldn't let a sound escape. This wasn't her first time being locked in. Starting a year ago, whenever she made a mistake outside, she would be confined here. Before it was only a few hours, this time it was a full 2 days. There was nothing in the room besides study books. Out of boredom, Hyuga Mio did some homework for a while, then began cultivating. She started learning chakra refinement at 5 years old. After 2 years of training, she could already perform 8 trigrams 32 palms. At lunchtime, the door to the confinement room opened. 2 people walked in. When Hyuga Mio looked toward the door, her anger flared and she rushed toward Hyuga Yudo. You little traitor, get over here. You hit someone too, so why am I the only one locked up? Before Hyuga Mio could even get close to Hyuga Yudo, she was grabbed by the back of her collar and lifted up by No. 18 beside him. Even while being held, Hyuga Mio protested stubbornly, Auntie number 18, let go of me. I won't fight with Yudo. After Hyuga Mio was lifted up, Hyuga Yudo poked his head out from behind number 18, smacked his lips and shook his head. Sis, I used genjutsu, and it was a confusion-type genjutsu. You used the 8 trigrams palm. The consequences are completely different. And you even called the wrong person. Called the wrong person. Hyuga Mio froze, not understanding what Yudo meant. What Yudo means is that you didn't even recognize me. Looks like you really need to stay in the confinement room for 2 days. After saying that, Hyuga Mirai dispelled the nano-disguise on his body and returned to his original appearance. Hyuga Mio froze. Then those deep blue Tensigan eyes identical to Hyuga Mirai's immediately filled with grievance. Hugging Hyuga Mirai, she complained, Dad, you have to deal with Mom. She's getting more and more unreasonable. Before it was at most half a day. This time it's 2 whole days. Nearby, Hyuga Yudo clutched his stomach and laughed. Haha, sis, begging Dad is worse than begging Aunt Ayaka. Aunt Ayaka's words are more effective than Dad's. Ayaka Uzumaki had just been confirmed pregnant last month, and her status in the household was basically on par with Kiyo. As for Hyuga Mirai, he could only barely manage the 2 kids. Sometimes even Mio wouldn't listen to him, since he often stayed in the laboratory. You're coming into confinement too. We share blessings and hardships. You'll stay here with us for these 2 days. Endure it. After putting down lunch, just as Hyuga Yudo tried to run away upon hearing that, Hyuga Mirai directly dragged him back. Based on his understanding of the 2 kids, this fight was probably another case of Hyuga Yudo pushing his sister to the front while he stayed behind to watch. The 2 kids were practically replicas of their mother. Yudo probably learned from Kurina Yuhi from a young age how to deal with Kiyo's temper, and after mastering it, used it on his sister Mio. Still, Mio really needed to reflect this time. Using 8 trigrams palm outside school to beat a classmate straight into the hospital if her parents weren't Hyuga Mirai and Kiyo Hyuga, she would probably have been taken away by the security force or school authorities. Don't look so miserable, you two. It's only 2 days. Let's play some games first, using your allowance as the stakes. Mio, after you get out, remember to do a serious self-reflection. If you do it again, I won't be able to speak up for you. Hyuga Mio muttered, when have you ever spoken up for me in front of Mom? Hyuga Mirai snorted inwardly. It had taken him great effort to get Kiyo to agree to all kinds of outfits. If he upset her over disciplining the kids, the one suffering would be himself. Besides, he knew he had little free time and found it hard to get angry at Mio and Yudo, so playing the bad cop was better left to Kiyo. He then took out a game console, instantly making Mio and Yudo's eyes light up. Both eagerly sat in front of it. But Hyuga Mirai had already decided to teach them a lesson, so he made them take out all their saved allowance first. No money, no playing. Once Hyuga Yudo and Hyuga Mio handed over all their allowance, they planned to win a big sum from Hyuga Mirai. Otherwise, their allowance was never enough. Kiyo strictly controlled their finances, and their allowance was only average among school kids. Even when they wanted premium snacks, Mio usually tricked Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha into paying. She even threatened Yudo to open his Sharingan and go ask Sasuke Uchiha, which greatly increased the success rate. The three played in the confinement room until midnight. In the end, Hyuga Mirai left contentedly with IOUs signed by Mio and Yudo. He had originally wanted to gamble a few more rounds, but a newly alert Yudo kicked him out. If their dad stayed any longer, even next year's allowance would be gone. 6 years passed. The Federation's territorial area hadn't changed much, but domestic infrastructure had doubled. Now even the railway from the commercial capital to the farthest town of the former Land of Earth had opened. In theory, Federation citizens could reach any town by rail. They didn't expand outward because the Federation hadn't yet entered a population boom, and there was still plenty of unused land. Moreover, there was only one regime on the planet the Federation, so in theory the planet was already unified. The Federation's leader was still Pakura, but she wouldn't hold the position much longer. Over these 6 years, Pakura proposed stepping down 3 times, but each time Hyuga Mirai secretly manipulated public opinion and Federation officials to reject it. The last time even led to a public petition asking Pakura to continue for a while longer. Recently, however, Pakura had sought out Hyuga Mirai several times. She had noticed something was off, though she couldn't find proof that Hyuga Mirai was behind it. Clever as she was, she hinted both openly and subtly that if no one took over next time she resigned, she would run away. Hyuga Mirai had no desire to take over. He had already resigned from the positions of Ninja Academy Principal and Minister of Education. With rapid development of computer networks, Number 18 handled 60% of the Federation's administrative work. Hyuga Mirai would rather spend the remaining time doing experiments or his family. 3 years ago, Hyuga Mirai became an unemployed freeman. Kiyo, however, took over the position of Minister of Education. She couldn't stay idle, and even dragged Kurenai Yuhi along as her assistant to the Ministry of Education. If nothing unexpected happened, the next Federation leader would be Senju Tobarama. Among the Federation's 27 states, only Senju Tobarama was truly suitable. Others, whether Kakashi Hatake, Maki, Narashikaku, or Terumi, may fell a bit short compared to Tobarama, either in ability or temperament. As time went on, Hyuga Mirai grew increasingly uninterested in that position. 18 helping manage the Federation's administration and economy, calling him the leader behind the scenes wouldn't be wrong. There was no need to sit in that seat personally. Hyuga Mirai preferred turning the technological concepts in his mind into reality. Anti-gravity hover cars, holographic cinemas and arcades, a global satellite network, a lunar space station, interstellar travel ships, household assistant robots, and most importantly, the space-time jump device. Some had already been realized and promoted across the Federation, while others were displayed in the exhibition hall of the Federation Advanced University in Rouen. They weren't suitable for large-scale promotion yet, but could be researched and innovated upon by others. Hyuga Mirai focused on the few projects at hand: the God Tree, interstellar travel ships, and the space-time jump device. The first was the best path for life-level evolution, and the latter was essential for space-time travel. Over these 6 years, the only thing outside Hyuga Mirai's control was related to number 18 5 years ago. 18's change back then was something Hyuga Mirai hadn't anticipated. Years ago, he had Tsunade use the 6 paths Chibaku Tensei. After Otsutsuki Kagaya's consciousness was unsealed, instead of entering the demonic statue of the outer path as Hyuga Mirai expected, it entered No. 18's body. This was the first thing Hyuga Mirai hadn't controlled. Later, however, number 18's explanation seemed fine, and by then it was already inconvenient for Hyuga Mirai to examine her further. Otsutsuki Kagaya is now my second personality, sir. You don't need to worry. No matter which personality, neither will violate the principles you set when you created me. 18 controlled herself to transform into Otsutsuki Kagaya's appearance. Compared to the ascetic goddess Hyuga Mirai had seen, number 18's Kagaya form wore an expression full of coy allure. "Sir, if you don't believe me, you can personally check." As she said this, number 18, still in Otsutsuki Kagaya's form, deliberately lifted her clothes to reveal her lower abdomen, where her star core was located. At that time, Tsunade didn't know the details. Seeing this scene, she simply felt anger, thinking Hyuga Mirai dared to flirt with another woman in front of her. She stepped forward and locked Hyuga Mirai's neck with her jade-like arm. "You're getting bolder and bolder. Doing this right in front of me. Come with me. Tsunade, watch the child." In the end, Tsunade was persuaded by Hyuga Mirai, since she also cared deeply about Senju Yoko. This was the name Tsunade gave her daughter. Although Yoko didn't carry the Senju surname, Tsunade hoped that starting with Yoko, the Senju clan would flourish again. However, not long after settling on the name, one remark from Hyuga Mirai made Tsunade struggle for a long time. "Tsunade, aren't you afraid Yoko will be full-blood Byakugan?" In the end, Hyuga Mirai promised that Yoko would definitely awaken, would release, and moreover, God Tree would release. Only then was Tsunade satisfied. Speaking of gains, aside from Tsunade and Senju Yoko, Hyuga Mirai's greatest harvest was probably hooking 3 Otsutsuki. After Tsunade deciphered all of Otsutsuki Ishiki's life information, she used Otsutsuki clan communication signals to summon 3 Otsutsuki from a nearby star system to Earth. Hyuga Mirai then beat them to death. Urashiki's abilities were more troublesome, but only slightly. As someone who also possessed Yamatsu Hirasaka, Urashiki only lived a bit longer than Momoshiki and Kinshiki. With 2 God Tree saplings and 3 Otsutsuki corpses obtained, Hyuga Mirai copied the genetic information of Momoshiki, Kinshiki, and Urashiki. After Tsunade used electromagnetic abilities to copy all their life information, the 3 corpses were handed to Sasori and Orochimaru for research. Since 3 couldn't be split into 2, and cutting the corpses destroyed their value, Sasori reluctantly worked with Orochimaru in the same experimental base, despite his dislike, for the sake of the 3 Otsutsuki bodies. Otherwise, shuttling between 2 locations would have been too troublesome. Sasori made major breakthroughs in materials. Hyuga Mirai's spaceship used an alloy Sasori developed, doubling previous measurements in strength, corrosion resistance, heat resistance, and more. It was precisely because the spaceship materials improved so much that Hyuga Mirai conceived the idea of traveling through space-time to other universes, sightseeing while planting God trees. Although Hyuga Mirai's improved God tree could grow by absorbing stellar energy, he didn't want to miss planting on life-bearing planets. He wanted to observe the entire process of primitive God tree saplings slowly growing after absorbing the energy of a living planet. He also wanted to see if he could deduce the God Tree Mother Tree. As for going to the Otsutsuki home planet, Hyuga Mirai had no such plans for now. According to memories in Ishiki's life information, there was a statue left by an Otsutsuki god on the home planet, containing an overwhelming power that made Ishiki unable to even think of resisting. After comparing, Hyuga Mirai felt it would be very dangerous to go to the Otsutsuki home planet now. He couldn't be sure how powerful that statue was. If something went wrong, it would be disastrous. With the nearby star systems Otsutsuki all dealt with, the planet where the Federation resided could develop peacefully for at least 1,000 years. That evening, after Hyuga Mirai finished cooking and set the dishes on the table, Ayaka Uzumaki sat there lazily, while Kiyo Hyuga and Kurina Yuhi arrived right on time. Before dinner, Hyuga Mirai also went to the confinement room to deliver dinner to Mio and Yudo. Locking Yudo in had been his idea, otherwise, Mio alone wouldn't adapt to 2 days inside. With Yudo there he could keep her company and serve as a punching bag, saving Mio from being constantly schemed against by her brother. After eating, Kiyo Hyuga didn't rest as usual. Instead, she moved close to Hyuga Mirai, stared at him for a while, and asked, "Do you have something to say?" "Still can't hide it from you, Kiyo." Hyuga Mirai said his thoughts and said, "The space-time jump device is fully charged. In theory, I can try going somewhere else to take a look. The Federation's development is on track, nothing to worry about, and there are no nearby enemies. Simply put, it had reached the end. Hyuga Mirai's scientific template system hadn't drawn any good templates for 10 years, mostly ordinary scientists, which brought him no new insights at all. You've been so devoted to family lately. You must feel guilty. Kiyo snorted lightly and continued, who's going with you? Because of the unknown, I originally planned to go alone, but Tsunade wants to come along. Before Hyuga Mirai could finish, Kiyo lightly kicked him. With an unhappy expression, she said, you hid this for so long. Then what about Senju Yoko? Kiyo, you already know. I'm the Minister of Education. How could I not know about students across the Federation? Kiyo Hyuga shot Hyuga Mirai a look. The Senju surname, combined with outstanding performance in the preschool program, had already drawn her attention to Senju Yoko's records half a year ago. Leave her to me. You'll probably be gone for a while. Yoko will eventually attend the Federation First School. I'll also make more time. You're the best, Kiyo. I knew you'd support me. Kiyo Hyuga was suddenly lifted up. She let out a light cry and patted him. Idiot, put me down first. I'm not done talking. It's the same wherever we talk. The next day, after Mio and Yuto were released, Hyuga Mirai told everyone about it. Mio and Yuto immediately slapped the table, clamoring to go with him. They didn't last 3 seconds before being suppressed by a single glance from Kiyo Hyuga. Ayaka Uzumaki wanted to go as well, but her physical condition didn't allow it, so she gave up. Kurenai Yuhi's red eyes kept turning, and before long, she seemed to make up her mind. Hyuga Mirai had already prepared everything. He transferred all Federation authority to Kiyo Hyuga, including command authority over Ryuchi Cave, launch control of the 36 orbital weapons, and control over all Federation weapons and androids. 2 days before departure, Kurenai Yuhi clung to Hyuga Mirai, insisting on going too. She had already convinced Kiyo, and agreed to several conditions. A few days later, night fell and a rare full moon appeared. This was the closest the moon came to Roran's space-time jump device all year, and also the best time for energy transmission between the Lunar Energy Transfer System and Roran's space-time jump device. Above the space-time jump device, 36 energy transmission pillars lit up with blue light. Hyuga Mirai piloted the spaceship, hovering at the center of the pillars. Sasori had also gone to the moon to help with equipment calibration. All ready, Sasori. Once prepared, Hyuga Mirai had Sasori initiate energy transmission while activating his side simultaneously. As the light on the pillars grew stronger, violent space-time fluctuations were triggered.
Hyuga Mirai didn't let Kiyo come see him off because approaching within 20 kilometers could be affected. The next second, as the blue energy beams reached their peak brilliance, Hyuga Mirai's spaceship vanished instantly. In the following moment, all the energy pillars went dark, even producing an overloaded smoking scene. Sasori said through the headset to Kiyo Hyuga, "Success. It's basically no different from the calculations. Now we just wait for his message."
At Kamartaj, the Ancient One, who was instructing her disciples in cultivation, suddenly sensed a brief overlap in space-time. It was only a small-scale disturbance, and before she could react, space-time had already returned to normal. Seeing the Ancient One suddenly stop, the disciples beside her didn't know what had happened. "It's nothing. Continue your practice." After saying this, the Ancient One left the training grounds, and used the Sanctum's portal to arrive at the New York Sanctum. She planned to take a look at the sudden guests who had arrived in this universe. Just now, through the eye of Agamotto, the Ancient One had seen those people and discerned their background. Precisely because of that, she was curious how someone with a mutated body and a few ordinary people could pass through chaotic spacetime into this universe. Had something major happened in their universe? End of chapter. Drop them power stones please. Support me on Patreon if you'd like access on advanced chapters. I have finished all the chapters and uploaded them there. Pat Rayon. com/turd translations, just remove the space. Chapter 405. Chapter 405 2194 words. Oh my God, what's going on? Uncle Ben, you can't imagine what happened outside. Everything's changed. I mean, we've come to a completely new environment. All the old neighbors are gone. Peter Parker ran back in with a shocked expression and told Uncle Ben and Aunt May. His neighbors were gone. Just yesterday, he had saved Mary Jane in the cafeteria and even helped her keep her breakfast, but today, the moment he stepped outside, his house had inexplicably ended up in the middle of the wilderness. Peter, did you secretly drink alcohol? Young people being curious and impulsive is inevitable, but drinking has to wait until you're an adult. Uncle Ben, I really hope you put down the newspaper right now and look outside. Peter Parker said anxiously to Ben Parker. With something like this happening, he couldn't even go to school. Who could have imagined that after just one night of sleep, their entire house would mysteriously end up in the suburbs? Ben, look outside. Oh my God, what happened? Aunt May also came over to the dining table in a panic and spoke to Ben Parker, who had just sat down. Hearing his wife say this as well, Ben Parker couldn't stay seated. He put down the newspaper and prepared to go outside to take a look. But just as Ben Parker stood up, the doorbell rang. Peter Parker instantly became alert. He had clearly seen that the surroundings were barren wasteland, not even a road nearby. It hadn't even been 10 minutes someone was knocking already. I'll open the door, Peter Parker said to Ben Parker. There was no way he would let his elderly uncle open the door. If it were a criminal, he could at least shut the door quickly. As Peter walked toward the door, Ben Parker and Aunt May also picked up weapons: a baseball bat and a frying spatula. Their family was one of the rare households in America without a gun, so this was all they could use for self-defense. Peter Parker reached the door, gestured to Ben Parker, and then suddenly pulled the door open. Calm down, mister. Before Peter Parker could react, the person outside extended a hand, placing it on Peter Parker's shoulder to comfort him. When she fully stepped inside, the Parker family finally saw her clearly. She wore a yellow robe, was bald, with somewhat androgynous features, but her voice sounded female. She also didn't seem to have any ill intent. Peter Parker asked doubtfully, who are you? A sorcerer from Camartage. I am the Ancient One. Camartage is a place where sorcerers gather to train, protecting Earth, and preventing invasions from the dark dimension. Last night, there was a disturbance in space-time in this universe. What puzzled me was that such a large disturbance only resulted in a few unfamiliar people appearing in this universe. I've already met and settled the others. Your family is the last one. The Ancient One introduced herself. Seeing that Peter Parker didn't react much, she continued, May I come in and explain? Of course. Please come in. Peter Parker nodded, still a bit dazed, and invited the Ancient One inside. Then he turned to Ben Parker and said, Uncle Ben, she doesn't have any malice. I can feel it. Yes, your ability is very remarkable. In less than 2 days, it already feels innate. After entering, the Ancient One glanced at Peter Parker and continued, If you were a native of this universe, I might try to take you as my disciple. Not long after she sat down, Ben Parker also saw the situation outside. The neighbors, the road, even the lawn around the house were all gone, as if their house had been directly moved to a desolate place. What happened? Is today April Fool's Day? Ben Parker had trouble accepting this reality. He felt like he might be having a heart attack. Though his chest didn't hurt, he still covered it and sat down. Calm down. Would you like some tea? As the Ancient One finished speaking, teacups suddenly appeared in the hands of the Parker family, filled with fragrant tea. After they barely calmed down, she explained their bizarre experience. They had arrived in this universe through the abnormal space-time fluctuations last night. This was not the universe they originally lived in. Everything had changed. Now the Parker family had 2 options. First, under Camartage's arrangements, obtain new identities and live here. Second, stay here for a period of time first. After the Ancient One confirmed certain issues, she would look for an opportunity to send them back. This kind of space-time disturbance lay outside the future the Ancient One had seen. Before finding the cause, she would not make things worse. Transporting people from one universe to another would negatively affect the dimensional barriers of both universes. Moreover, most of these people did not come from the same universe. The Ancient One also needed to study spells, otherwise, sending them back one by one could cause further space-time disturbances. "Can't you send us back right now?" Peter Parker asked anxiously. The person he liked was still in the original universe, and he had just regained a new lease on life. If nothing unexpected happened, he could even try to pursue her. Was it going to be cut off before it even began? "I understand you, mister, but traversing universes is extremely dangerous, so dangerous that it could trigger even more unpredictable consequences. Without full preparation, I will not do this." The Ancient One knew what Peter Parker was thinking, but she could not agree. "Before everything is ready, Kamartaj can only arrange new identities for you, and let you live here stably for a while, Mr. Parker, Mr. After the explanation and arrangements, the Parker family was deeply shocked. Though they didn't understand parallel universes or single universes, they knew that as a sorcerer protecting Earth, the Ancient One could not send them back. Peter Parker was just an outstanding high school senior. Even though he read many science magazines and did some research, the multiverse was far beyond his understanding. As for Ben Parker, there was even less to say. He was just an elderly man close to retirement. "All right then. Since there's no other way, we'll have to trouble you, sorcerer." After a moment of silence, Ben Parker made the decision. They truly had no other option. A normal family of 3 had inexplicably come to a new universe and couldn't return anytime soon. If they didn't agree, they might be treated as undocumented residents. The little money they had would be spent on renting a house, getting identification, Peter's schooling, and Ben Parker finding a job. All of this would be an enormous burden. The Parker family really had no choice. "Then I will make the arrangements. After you pack your things, go to the New York sanctum and wait. This house can be abandoned." With a wave of her hand, the Ancient One opened a portal to the New York sanctum. This portal would remain for a long time. After the Parkers finished moving their luggage and furniture, it would close. As for housing and identity, Kamartaj would handle everything. There were only 7 interdimensional travelers in America, and only the Parker family was in New York. The others were scattered around the world. This is teleportation. That's incredible. What principle is it based on? Peter, go pack your things. Got it, Uncle Ben. Peter Parker wanted to ask more, but after being urged by Ben Parker, he went upstairs to pack. He was still a bit lost. He might not see the person he liked for a very long time. "We seem to have arrived in a pretty incredible place," Hyuga Mirai said to Kurina Yuhi and Tsunade in the Origin Ball space. The cosmic travel ship had suffered some damage, so he placed it in the Origin Ball space, and had number 18 repair it. Before storing it away, however, he used its detection equipment and discovered some interesting signals. Weak signals from within the solar system allowed Hyuga Mirai to quickly gather information about Earth. The Marvel Universe. That was the conclusion he reached. A place where opportunity and danger coexisted. He didn't know whether this was the comic Marvel Universe or the movie Marvel Universe. If it was the latter, he could secretly collect the Infinity Stones and evolve to a higher level. But if it was the former, his actions might already be under observation from higher dimensions. Tsunade frowned slightly and said, "It sounds dangerous. We'll need more intelligence. Do we have to wait until the ship is repaired before reaching Earth?" "No choice. Even with Yamatsu Hirasaka, I need to see or sense the place before opening a spatial passage." Hyuga Mirai shrugged helplessly. "In the universe, my perception can't span multiple star systems. We have to wait until the Mirai is repaired to capture signals and analyze the location, or we could easily get lost." There were many races in the Marvel Universe, the most famous being the Asgardians. Though worshipped as gods on Earth, Hyuga Mirai felt they were simply a race similar to the Otsutsuki clan. Odin was in existence like the Otsutsuki god, though he could still be injured and die of illness. Kurenai Yuhi tilted her head slightly and asked, "You said Earth there is split into over 100 countries. After the Yuhi is repaired, are you planning to unify Earth? You two are still arguing over the ship's name." Hearing Kurenai Yuhi say, Yuhi, Tsunade raised an eyebrow. Kurenai had been disciplined several times for talking back, even asking Tsunade for help twice. But as a woman, Tsunade could tell that Kurenai was deliberately using this to spice things up by competing for Hyuga Mirai's creations. After hearing Yuhi, Hyuga Mirai shot Kurenai Yuhi a warning look, deciding to settle it later. They didn't know what time it was now. If they were going to Earth, they had to be cautious. Whether Odin or the Ancient One, both were stronger than ordinary heroes. The Ancient One could even use the Time Stone, the Eye of Agamotto. If either of them were one level stronger, they could affect the entire single universe. Unfortunately, Hyuga Mirai wasn't at that level yet. Though he had learned Inyang techniques to reconstruct space with Hinata Hyuga's help and fully rebuilt the Amenominaka space of the Tomo Rinnegan, he still struggled with space outside it. Hyuga Mirai was essentially a beginner, incomparable to the Ancient One's mastery of magic. However, after evolving his life level, he could now absorb stellar power. Even if weaker than Odin or the Ancient One, the gap wouldn't be so large that he couldn't resist. Moreover, he was very confident in the Amenominaka space. Outsiders would find it extremely difficult to enter his controlled space, and even if they did, they would be suppressed. Kurenai Yuhi patted him, pulling him out of his thoughts, and comforted him. "Don't worry. If there's a problem, we'll help you." And Sister Tsunade just agreed to wear those outfits. Tsunade shouted in embarrassment and anger. "I never said that. Don't even think about it. Those outfits were unbearably shameful. She would never wear them. And that bastard Hyuga Mirai aside from the first time, when he behaved decently, over the past few years he had always wanted to try new positions. If she hadn't firmly refused, she would have long been molded into his shape. Still, it had been a while since the last time. She had been accompanying Yoko recently, but those outfits were absolutely impossible. Thinking of this, Tsunade glanced at Hyuga Mirai, and saw him pretending to think seriously while occasionally glancing at her. She had seen this look many times in the past 5 years, the prelude to a scheme. "Hurry up and fix the ship. How long do you want us to stay in the Origin Ball space?" Her face flushing, Tsunade kicked Hyuga Mirai toward the ship. Before Kurenai Yuhi could escape, Tsunade restrained her with an electromagnetic field, and vigorously rubbed her fair cheeks until Kurenai cried out for mercy. Part of the ship's energy compartment had been damaged, but it was a minor issue. Hyuga Mirai had brought 2 full sets of materials to repair the entire ship, just in case. Even though Tsunade kicked him over, he didn't need to do anything. The ship had many robots. 18 remotely controlled them, and the repairs would be finished in just 1 day. After the ship was repaired, Hyuga Mirai called Tsunade and Kurenai Yuhi over, took the ship out of the Origin Ball space, activated stealth and anti-detection systems, analyzed the previously captured signal source, and directly initiated space jump mode, leaping beyond the solar system. End of chapter. Drop them power stones. Please support me on Patreon if you'd like access on advanced chapters. I have finished all the chapters and uploaded them there. Pat Rayon. com/turd translations, just remove the space. Chapter 406, Chapter 406 2278 words, the people here are also strange. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and the food isn't that great either. Hyuga Mirai, Kurenai Yuhi, and Tsunade were eating at a restaurant in Washington. The food really was average. Having grown used to refined cuisine, Kurenai found the rough style hard to swallow. As they neared the solar system, Hyuga Mirai put away the spaceship, then used Yomi Hirasaka to arrive on Earth. Several hours had passed, yet he still hadn't sensed anyone watching him, so it was likely no one had noticed him. Whether it was Odin or the Ancient One, or even higher dimensional beings, even if they stood right in front of Hyuga Mirai, they might not necessarily be able to observe him. These clothes are uncomfortable too, Mirai. Can people really wear this in public? Kurenai looked down at the tight little suit she was wearing. It perfectly showed off her slim waist and curves, but wasn't this the kind of outfit she only wore in private with Hyuga Mirai? Now it seemed many women on the street were dressed similarly. Heh, Kurenai, you've already been brainwashed by him, Tsunade said with a snort after swallowing her steak. Kurenai retorted bluntly, but Tsunade-wani, you were louder than me last night. Cough, caught off guard by such a bold remark, Tsunade nearly choked. She hurriedly coughed twice, and looked around to see if anyone had noticed. Seeing Tsunade's concern, Kurenai smiled. Don't worry, Tsunade-wani. The people around us will ignore our presence. I used genjutsu the moment we came in. Reassured, Tsunade reached out and knocked Kurenai on the head. To deal with someone scheming, you had to use violence. This was what Kyo Hyuga had told her before leaving. 18 hadn't come along, she had gone to gather intelligence. 18, the internet held no secrets. As long as their staff connected their phones to the internet, she could infiltrate them. Moreover, the data on the internet further enhanced number 18's computing and processing abilities. Though she was now considered a life form, those abilities remained intact. Besides, this Marvel Universe's timeline was only at 2008. 2 months ago, Tony Stark had announced he was Iron Man, and the aftershock still hadn't faded. It would still be a few years before Loki invaded Earth. Hyuga Mirai could find an opportunity to take Loki's scepter, if possible. He didn't want to miss the Space Stone either. The 6 Infinity Stones represented the most fundamental forces of the universe, while the growth of the Divine Tree required absorbing the origin of a life-bearing planet. Hyuga Mirai urgently wanted to know, if he could make the Divine Tree absorb the energy contained in the Infinity Stones, could he raise the tree's growth limit? The tree of the universe? Or evolving from a subsidiary tree into a mother tree? If the Divine Tree absorbed the power of all 6 Infinity Stones, could the fruit it bore allow Hyuga Mirai to break through the limits of a single universe, and open a path across the multiverse to the universe where the ninja world resided? These were all things Hyuga Mirai wanted to research. The best answers should lie within the Infinity Stones. This was the optimal path from a single universe to the multiverse. Next, we'll first put down roots here, then explore slowly. We need to plan for all 6 Infinity Stones. Hyuga Mirai explained to Kurenai and Tsunade, then had number 18 project some of the gathered information onto the terminal for them to review. Las Vegas. Tsunade's eyes lit up when she saw the place. So many casinos and far more gambling methods than in the ninja world. It made her itch with desire, though she concealed it well. Most importantly, she had no money right now, and her pride wouldn't allow her to rob people or use genjutsu. Hyuga Mirai instructed number 18, help us take care of our identities, and earn a bit of money on the side. No need for much, 1 or 200 million will do. The next second, the identities of the 4 of them were settled, along with a full set of replacement documents. As long as they took the time to collect them, they'd have perfect personal histories. As for the money, number 18 skimmed some funds from unclaimed accounts, then made a few rounds in the financial markets. The account balance quickly doubled. With the strongest insider channels, the financial market was basically her personal bank. As for whether to live in seclusion as ordinary people or establish a force, Hyuga Mirai thought briefly and chose the latter. He still had some Divine Tree saplings with him. Before obtaining the Infinity Stones, he could plant one first and raise Kurenai's strength to the 6 paths level. Her body had been enhanced multiple times by Hyuga Mirai. She already met the 6 paths standard: powerful physique, flight, genjutsu ability, even the capacity to absorb stellar energy, but she lacked the Divine Tree's abilities, truth-seeking orbs, Kekiai Mora, and immortality. Let's go. Next, we'll establish a pharmaceutical company in New York. There are still plenty of incurable diseases in this world, but all of them can be treated with special medicines. We'll use that as our starting point. Hyuga Mirai said to Kurenai and Tsunade. If nothing went wrong, Loki would lead the Chitauri army to attack New York 4 years later. That would be the perfect excuse to obtain the Mind Stone. However, once he obtained the Mind Stone, the future timeline would certainly change. Whether the Ancient One would come looking for him then was something Hyuga Mirai couldn't be sure about. Before establishing the company, I think we should properly explore some cities in this country, Tsunade said seriously, though her eyes had already unconsciously turned into the character for Gamble. Arriving in a new place naturally made her want to experience the local gambling style. Hyuga Mirai directly wrapped an arm around Tsunade's slim waist and forcibly carried her outside. There'll be opportunities later. For now, you're my head of pharmaceutical R&D. I can't do without you. Kurenai, let's go. You're feeding me empty promises again. Last time you said it was just one favor, and I ended up working hard for 3 years. This time it's real. Trust Ayako's father, Tsunade. Once Loki arrived, Earth would have 2 Infinity Stones. Thanos might then choose this place as a battlefield. Even if Thanos could only use 20 or 30% of a power representing the origin of a universe, it would still be terrifying. Hyuga Mirai needed to think carefully. Still, the divine tree had to be planted. Once it matured and produced a chakra fruit, it would greatly strengthen Hyuga Mirai's side. Parker, this is the job arranged for you by Kamartaj. Also, Peter's schooling has been taken care of. On the 3rd day after moving into their new home, Ben Parker received the job arrangement from Kamartaj. Though it was just a security position, the pay was much higher than his previous job. He had also been facing unemployment before, so he was already quite satisfied. As for Peter Parker, Kamartaj arranged for him to enter a high school as a senior. Although Peter had already completed senior year, in this world he had to repeat it for another year. Uncle, are we really going to live here? I had friends in my original world, classmates. Coming to a new environment is really hard to adapt to. After saying this, Peter slumped onto the sofa. It was more comfortable than the one at his old home, so he lay straight down. The bedroom was also much bigger. He could even install a basketball hoop in his room now. There's no helping it, Peter, Ben Parker said as he looked over his job offer. If I could, I'd rather go back and look for work there. But we have no options right now. Maybe you can try to accept it. All right, I'll try. Peter replied weakly. He had been a bit lazy lately, but that was normal after arriving in a new environment. It had nothing to do with not seeing Mary Jane. Maybe he could try something else like the idea he'd had a few days ago of becoming a city hero. With that thought, Peter immediately got up and rushed to his room. The suit he'd designed for himself wasn't finished yet. Before school started, he should finish making it. After arranging things for the people from other universes, the Ancient One used the Eye of Agamotto to trace the origin, wanting to know why these people had crossed universes. But she failed. Even using the Eye of Agamotto to view the past and future, she discovered nothing. She suspected it wasn't an issue with this universe, but these people weren't even from the same universe. If it were problems with each of their respective universes, that would be too absurd. The timeline showed no disorder. An extra Peter Parker didn't seem to have much impact either. This matter. The Ancient One was somewhat worried. She wanted to continue investigating, but didn't know where to start. I'll leave it to Strange. As the greatest Sorcerer Supreme, Strange would likely have different insights. Besides, he would eventually cross paths with Peter Parker. In the meantime, the Ancient One felt it was enough to guard her duty as the Sorcerer Supreme. Time passed slowly. On Earth, the hottest topic was still Tony Stark. The Iron Man armor almost represented a new era in weapons and energy. Whether in America or abroad, many coveted that suit. Hyuga Mirai didn't pay much attention to the stir caused by Tony Stark. He possessed plenty of epoch-making technologies himself, revealing them, all would instantly turn Earth into the strongest civilization in the universe. Moreover, after becoming Iron Man, Tony Stark truly was a troublemaker. Although many things weren't his intention, they did start because of him. Still, with Hugo Mirai around, at least the Ultron incident could be prevented. Future Biopharmaceuticals was soon established. 18 remained Hugo Mirai's most effortless manager. The office building and production facilities required no concern from him. She handled everything flawlessly. Just half a year later, after the company structure was fully set up, Future Biopharmaceuticals held a press conference, announcing that it had developed special drugs capable of completely curing heart disease, diabetes, cerebral hemorrhage, and cancer. Preclinical trials were complete, and human trials were about to begin. The impact of this news even surpassed the hype around the Iron Man armor. Developing for cures at once for diseases that currently had no effective treatment, the claim made Future Pharmaceuticals sound even bolder than Tony Stark declaring world peace through a private company. Especially after investigations showed that Future Biopharmaceuticals was a newly established company. Though it appeared well-funded, breakthroughs in pharmaceutical technology couldn't possibly be achieved in just a few months. There had been no prior rumors, so most people were skeptical, some even claiming the company was a scam. Nevertheless, Future Pharmaceuticals announced the start of human trials, recruiting 400 patients, and establishing a dedicated public channel where everyone could see daily changes in the patient's health data. Normally, approval before human trials took a long time, but Hugo Mirai found it troublesome, and had number 18 speed things up slightly by altering the memories of some American officials in charge, then proceeded to the next phase. Many patients had clear medical records before the trials, and anyone could track their physical changes. According to the company's claims, even the slowest of these four hardest-to-treat diseases would be cured within 3 months. In response to such publicity, not only external media but even the company's own employees didn't quite believe it. Still, the pay was good, and until the company went under, they just needed to follow management's analysis. Hugo Mirai handed all company matters to No. She had once managed over 70% of an entire federation's administration. Running a single company was child's play. As for Hugo Mirai and the other two, they were currently in Las Vegas. To experience new gambling styles sooner, Tsunade developed for special medicines in under 2 months, and even secretly tested them on patients. Although Tsunade's work efficiency was extremely high, Hugo Mirai had wanted to persuade her to wait a bit longer. However, before he could say much, he was completely defeated by Tsunade. It was the first time Hugo Mirai had seen Tsunade wearing such a revealing nurse outfit. He didn't hold out for long before falling to Tsunade's clumsy seduction. Though they had been together for quite some time, Tsunade always felt her age was an issue, making her somewhat reserved at such moments. Even though Hugo Mirai told her her life had already changed, and by equivalent conversion, her age among humans was only that of a small child, she still found it hard to let go. But after coming to a new world, Tsunade's mindset slowly changed. That night was her first attempt but definitely not the last. Kurenai's shyness, Kurenai's allure, Ayaka's cooperation, and Tsunade's generosity. Thinking back to his early days at the Ninja Academy, Hugo Mirai recalled how he had worked to grow stronger step by step, evolving his life to its current level. Perhaps these things had always been his driving force. End of chapter. Drop them power stones. Please support me on Patreon if you'd like access on advanced chapters. I have finished all the chapters and uploaded them there. Patreon.com/turd translations, just remove the space. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Novels Wonderland.